Hello and welcome on the Prowl. I'm your host, Gabby Raby, and with me today is the coach of the Hahnville Tigers, Coach Nick Saltaformaggio. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Thank you, Gabby.
Coming up on today's show, Coach Salt will break down last week's game against the Destrehan Wildcats. And we'll get Coach to look ahead at this Friday's game against the St. Thomas More Cougars. And finally in today's show, we'll have a final update on the 2016 Pinklings campaign. Close game, Coach. What do you think the final score showed about your team?
That were 3 points not as good as Destrehan. So, we played hard. We really did. We played hard 2 weeks in a row. I think there's a lot of things when a game's that close against an opponent that is that good. There are so many things in the game that you look at when you look at the tape the next day. Why weren't we able to be productive in the first half? You spot them 14 points. We didn't play very well defensively in the first half, and then down the last part of the game, the stretch part of the game on the back end. So there were a lot of things to look at. But when all said and done, I told those guys after 4 years ago, Destrehan had beaten Hahnville by 49 points. Now here you are 8 seconds away from going into overtime, and really, after we had blocked that kick, I thought we were going to go in and win it, but just didn't work out that way. And, we got to play a really good team again this week with St. Thomas More, so time to move on and move forward.
In the Herald Guide, Coach Robichaux stated that you had an unbelievable game plan and hurt them where they needed to be. Do you agree with Coach Robichaux?
Yeah, I think Steve's being kind. I appreciate it. He's a friend of mine. We kind of go into the games with a similar philosophy. We like to establish our run game, and we think if we can get our run game going, it'll open up some passing avenue for us. And we did. We ran the ball particularly well in the second half. In the first half, we didn't move the ball very well at all. But, defensively, we took away their sail routes, which, they do a great job of getting 4 vertical routes open from different formations. And we felt like we did a really good job with that. But when you work so hard at one thing, something else opens up, and they were hurting us at the end of the game, throwing an intermediate route on some flood plays. So, hats off to those guys. Coach Robichaux's got a great football team. He's got a great coaching staff. They have a just terrific system that they play within. So, those kind of games just sharpen you for what we hope is a nice playoff run again. But we're sitting here 2-2, which is where we were last year with the really good St. Thomas More team coming in, and we have to find a way. You only get so many opportunities to get that signature win during the course of a season. So it presents us this week with another opportunity to get a signature win.
Anthony Williams received a shin injury early in the game. How do you think this possibly set your team back, being that he is one of your biggest offensive threats?
Well, when obviously you lose a kid like Anthony, it not only hurts you from a play calling standpoint, but it takes the wind out of you on the sidelines, And they kind of went through a similar situation with Grenier. So, it was kind of a push either way. The thing that hurts us is he does so many different things for us: kicking game, the kickoff return game, the punt return game, as a receiver, split out wide, as a receiver inside as a slot, as a running back running the ball, as a receiver out of the backfield, as a quarterback in our Wildcat stuff. So there were so many things that hurt us when he went out in that first half. But, again, the big thing is you got to have that next guy up kind of philosophy. And I think in the first half, we really struggled to find that next guy up. Who's going to be the next guy to take the game over? And, again, it's a credit to Destrehan as well, because they did a great job of controlling us once Anthony went down.
Thanks, Coach. Let's take a look at the first half highlights.
First of all, what a great atmosphere again. The rivalry is really just a tremendous, tremendous game for you kids to play in. Right off the bat there, we get a nice play by Dylan Dejin, and we're not able to muster a whole lot of offense. This is something we really work on, is our punt game. And we make a really nice play here, getting the ball hemmed down in the 2-yard line. But we weren't able to keep him down there. We weren't able to keep him hemmed in. Cole made a nice play on his own read and had a nice run and got him out of that tough punting area. But we were able to bow up a little bit defensively and make a play. and there's Devin Williams with a tackle for loss coming off the outside. Devin played really well for us. We need him to step up and be a big player for us. He's a big body in there, and he really did a nice job. There's William Brown and Trayvon Chambers coming in, making a nice play. Again, another tackle for loss. And we felt like we were doing a good job defending them early on in the game. And, Devin comes in off of a block and gets a sack for us. And, we were really playing good defense for the majority of that first half. Again, we make a nice perimeter play on the edge as Logan Robert coming up and making a tackle for us. Mosley's a very good football player for them and really did a very nice job. And, we get an interception there right before half with 1:32, and we get a really nice return, but we weren't able to capitalize on it and get some points. I think had we gotten some points right there right before half, it might have changed the reflection of the game a little bit, and you could see how excited Elgin was, going into the stands and getting the crowd kind of fired up. Great crowd on both sides, but the Hahnville side was particularly loud.
How did you plan to run the ball to catch up to Destrehan's score, being that you were 14 points behind at halftime?
Well, we just felt like, we got the ball to start the second half, and we felt like if we went down and get a consistent drive and score on the end of it, that it's a 7-point game, and then it's anybody's game after that. And that's really kind of what happened. We felt good about where we were at halftime from a defensive standpoint. We just didn't feel very good about where we were offensively. And there was a lot, people have asked questions, what did you do differently in the second half that you didn't do in the first half? And the answer is real simple. We just sustained our blocks and kind of simplified what we were doing from a run game perspective and getting some two-back stuff with a sniffer back in there. And so, we stayed pretty consistent, pretty true to form, up until the last 3 minutes. We kind of got away from what we were doing, and it hurt us.
Destrehan lost their quarterback, Cohen Grenier, late in the first half due to an attempt of making a tackle on an interception returned by Elgin Collins. How do you think this set their team back?
Well, whenever you lose a play the caliber of Cohen, that's a tough loss, But some teams are able to overcome it, And there's a lot of things that go into it. Obviously, talent. Blood came in and did a very, very good job for him. Threw the ball very well. But where Destrehan is particularly dangerous is their receivers are very good. Obviously, Jefferson and Young are, going to play on Saturday next year, and those guys are tall. Well, Jefferson is a tall kid who's got a, great body as a tall receiver, and Young is a really fast kid, and then Mosley and that whole kind of group of guys that they have, their skill guys, are particularly good. So, when he came in and just distributed the ball like Grenier would do, it really didn't have a significant drop-off for him. And for us, one thing it did do is we didn't know defensively how he would react. So it kind of made us have to step back a little bit and think, we knew what we were going to get out of Grenier, but this was kind of new territory for us. So it took some of our calls out of the game. And, I think as the game went on, Blood really started to play better and better and better. We probably should have just stuck more to what we were doing against Grenier because they didn't change what they were doing at all.
Let's take a look at the second half highlights.
Like I said, we got the ball to start the second half, and we started just kind of feeding our run game a little bit. That was Devontae Clark with a nice inside run, and those inside run games set up the play action. Jamel Bird really had a very nice night for us. Makes a nice catch and run after catch. And Jamel's becoming a big-time threat for us. And we turn right around and run a little counter look to Devontae, and he gets in and scores. And, now it's a 14-7 game. And we have to do our part defensively, and we come up and make a nice stop to get him to force a punt. And we get the ball right back, and then we go right back to Devontae again, running similar plays. We get a nice long run. Unfortunately, we get a call back because the official said it was a helmet-to-helmet contact, but I'll leave the officiating comments for a later date. We get the ball inside to Anthony. Anthony makes a great run, gets the ball down to their 15-yard line. We got a little bit of momentum going our way right now, which was good for us to see, because it was important for us to get this touchdown. It was a 4th down call, and Austin got in there, and we were able to get the PAT and tie the score up. So we really felt good about where we were playing at this time. We get a nice tackle on the edge by Elgin Collins against Mosley. Destrehan finishes their drive with a score, and we get the ball. Now we're kind of feeding Anthony a little bit more. He makes a really tough run in there, gets the ball down to the 15-yard line. And I think we're going to get in and get another score off the edge. Nice burst in there. And I think we run a quarterback sneak in here for a touchdown. And, again, we missed the PAT, so we're still down a point. But really, we're really just battling. Again, Destrehan came down and scored, and Puka makes a highlight reel run here, we're able to pick up a 1st down on it and keep a drive alive. And we eventually get down and score. Again, another flag comes in. They were doing a great job of throwing some flags Friday night. Cade Miguez breaks off the long touchdown run, and now we go for 2. And we're going to tie it up on a 2-point conversion. A great catch and a great throw by AP. We get Anthony in there for the 2-point play. We actually had 3 guys open, and we took the sure bet on the shortest route. And it's a 28-28 game. Destrehan gets another drive. We really didn't do a very good job of stopping them at all in the second half. But we make a nice play for a sack here as the clock's running down. And then probably the single biggest play of the game, we get a block here, and it's open. We have an open window to scoop and score, and we just don't get it. But with 3:41, we have the ball, and we weren't able to finish. We make a nice play on 2nd down here, getting them in the 3rd down, and we just couldn't get off the field, and they go down and kick the field goal and beat us 31-28. A great high school football game.
In the Herald Guide, you stated you thought Anthony had actually broken his tibia, but he had 110 yards and 12 carries for the night. How do you think his comeback in the second half helped your team?
Well, just his ability to score so quickly. It's funny how fast we are. That's how equally fast Destrehan is. So he wasn't really able to pop any big, significant, giant runs. But again, when he went out in the first half and it was reported to us that he might have had a broken bone in that leg, it just deflated our sideline tremendously. And then, at halftime, we saw him walking around. He was limping a little bit in the locker room at halftime, and then he came out in the second half and he wanted to go. And then Coach Silva said, well, if we want to go, let's run him. Let's see if he can go. And fortunately for us, he did. And it just gave us a tremendous lift on the sideline. But he and Devontae Clark give us a great 1-2 punch. And really, we're very fortunate in that Cade Miguez is equally adept at running the football. So we have a lot of opportunities in there with guys that can run the football. But Anthony's just dynamic. And, what he does is his presence in the backfield forces you to defend him with 2 guys. So if we can ever find the guy that they're not defending, we could be a pretty good football team offensively for 48 minutes instead of 24.
By this time, the heat of the game was starting to get intense. Do you think the amount of team spirit in the stands motivated Hahnville?
Oh, yeah, it really did. I mean, I've been very fortunate to coach in some big rivalry games. And, again, nothing really compares to this at all. The only game that would compare to it would be the state championship game. So the crowd was electric. I mean, really on both sides. And, the bands were fabulous. I mean, the cheerleaders were great. The dance teams were great. Every auxiliary unit that shows up for that game puts their best foot forward along with our school system. And that's the kind of game that needs to be played. Now, I remember, when it was going back and forth there, 14-0, 14-7, 14-14, 20. As those scores started rolling like that, Mike Silva came down, who's been in a lot of these, and he said, this is how Destrehan Hahnville should be played. And I agree. The only bad part for us is we were the team on the back end of the 31-28 score. But from a fans' perspective, to see that much talent on the field in a high school game playing at that level, you just don't get that in a lot of places. You get it in very few places. So it was great. It just was a great Friday night, other than the final score.
Hahnville and Destrehan are two really good teams, but it's the players that make it a good team. Who do you think are your star players from the game?
Well, I think, obviously it's, not everything, people think everything starts and ends with Anthony, but, Devontae Clark is a very good player for us, and Austin Perrin is a very good player for us. Jamel Bird's a very good player for us. Waylon LeBlanc had a very nice catch and a good night for us. But for me, being an old guy that still believes you win football games up front, our stars, to me, were our offensive and defensive linemen. I think guys like Drew Jones and Tyler Fricky, who have been in these battles for 3 years now. Drew for 4. Drew's actually started for 4 years. And then on the other side of the ball, guys like Trayvon Chambers and Devin Williams and Lincoy Reynard, who's only a junior. Fortunately, we get him back next year. Those are the guys, to me, that are kind of the heroes of this kind of game. Because when all's said and done, as dynamic as all those skill guys are, and both schools have an abundance of them, it came down to blocking and tackling, and even the final drive for both of us, Destrehan was able to complete the drive because their offensive linemen just started to kind of take the game back over a little bit. And, to me, those are the stars of the game. Those offensive and defensive linemen really, to me, stood out the entire night.
Thanks, Coach. Coming up next, we'll get Coach to look ahead at this week's game against the St. Thomas More Cougars. And we'll get a final update on the 2016 Pinklings campaign. We'll be right back.
Come on down to the United Way of St. Charles Parish's annual Battle for the Paddle on Thursday, October 6, 2016 at the West Bank Bridge Park in Luling. Admission is $5, which can get you all the gumbo and jambalaya you can eat. Kids under 10 get in free. Parking for the event will be in the areas highlighted in yellow. For more information and the full map, check the website. There will be shuttles going back and forth between parking areas and the West Bank Bridge Park. Parking inside the park will be prohibited the day of the event. We hope to see you there.
Welcome back to On the Prowl. I'm your host, Gabby Raby. St. Thomas More is ranked number 27 on maxpreps.com. How do you plan to prepare to play them, being that you are ranked so closely at number 31?
Well, Gabby, it's another opportunity to play a really good football team. We knew these 3 games were coming. We talked about it all summer. It worried me during the summer because we didn't have a great summer. We had some absenteeism during the weight program, and now we're in the end of those 3 games, and I mentioned those 3 games because you only get so many chances in your high school career to be the team that rights the ship. Now, it's kind of funny at Hahnville and that the ship never really needed to be righted. I mean, we've been in the quarterfinals 2 years in a row. We've had 2 9-win seasons. So it wasn't like we were coming back from a 2-8 or a 1-9 kind of campaign. But still, with that being said, you only get so many chances, and to be that team, we're that team that put Hahnville back where it belongs, which is in the top 8, 10, 12 teams in the state. And, we've missed 2 opportunities now. We kind of ran into some serious issues at Riverside because we didn't handle the weather very well. And then last week we get beat because we didn't handle the last 3 minutes of the game very well. So now we come in and play a very good St. Thomas More team. And with me, now this will be my 31st game as a head coach at Hahnville. In my 31 games, really in my entire career, I've never had a beat down as a coach put on me the way St. Thomas More did last year. So hopefully there's some incentive for us in a lot of areas. We're playing home again for the first time in 3 weeks. We're playing a team that embarrassed us last year that we have a chance to get a little payback on. And we have more, as far as the big picture is concerned, we have yet another opportunity to have that signature win, the win that kind of propels you to the next level. So hopefully all those things come into play for us. We are a little beat up. Devontae Clark's hurt, didn't practice yesterday. He has a shoulder injury. Anthony's hurt with his shin. He didn't practice yesterday. He's probably not going to practice today. We have one of our running, Corell Sandifer, has tonsillitis. So we got some guys beat up. We actually didn't play last week, and we won't play the rest of this year with Ben Hargrave, who was a starting offensive lineman for us, who hurt his back. He has a little fracture in his back. So we're kind of beat up, but this part of the year, against these three type of teams, you're going to get a few guys nicked up and beat up. So, St. Thomas More is going to come in. They're very similar to Jesuit, the team we played in the Jamboree. They have enough athletes to beat you. They have a big, strong running back. Their quarterback is a big, tall guy, about 6'8", who spins the ball really well. They have a receiver, Abear, who is a Louisiana Tech commit. Defensively, they're going to be in the right spots. So our work's cut out for us. But again, I keep telling the guys, it's not about where you are now. It's about where you are after week 10. So we just want to keep working hard. We had a good practice yesterday in spite of the heat, because here we are almost to October and it's 100 degrees outside still. But we had a good practice in spite of the heat, and we just keep working hard.
St. Thomas More has a great passing game, with their senior quarterback throwing for over 300 yards last week against a good Catholic high team. How will you prepare to stop their effective offense?
We're really simplifying what we're doing in the secondary. We knew coming into the season our secondary was going to struggle. It's where we lost. We lost 4 really, really good players. 3 of them are playing college football right now. And I think the first 2 weeks we got kind of in a false sense of security about we were getting better on the back end. And then, we go play Riverside and no one could throw the ball in that. And then all of a sudden we got on a dry field against a team that has a very good offensive system. And we gave up 333 yards passing Friday night. And so the challenge for us is let's just kind of get simpler with what we're doing, try to get guys in the right spots, and hopefully we can make a play. Because we've really been exposed on the back end, and we just have to get better back there. That's really, it's as simple as that. We have to find a way to get better on the back end of our defense.
So tell us about your booster club.
We meet every Monday night. We had a really quick meeting last night because of the Saints game, which I'm thinking now people would rather have probably been at the booster club meeting because the Saints are struggling. But this Monday night we'll meet again, 6 o'clock in our cafeteria. We'll have a little meal and a highlight film, and getting confirmation on our guest speaker this week. I hope it's Tony D from WWL. Yet to confirm, but he's been a pretty reliable guy, so I'm sure he'll be there. And hopefully we're talking about a win over St. Thomas More.
Thank you for joining us this week, Coach.
Thank you, Gabby.
Every year, the Satellite Center Health Career Exploration and Patient Care teams hold a fundraiser to raise money for breast cancer research. The final total for both schools is $25,378. They raised $7,000 more than last year's campaign. The West Bank came out on top by raising $15,559, and the East Bank raised $9,819. Outstanding jobs from both sides of the river. And that will do it for this week's edition of Hahnville on the Prowl. For updates and news on Press Play Productions, check out our website at presstheplay.tv. Tonight we will leave you with Hahnville High School marching band performance from last Friday night. I'm your host, Gabby Raby. Thanks for watching.
The Hahnville High School Tiger Marching Band. Congratulations to the section of the week, the Trumpets. The Hahnville High School Band is under the direction of Mr. Eric Gano and Mr. Michael Danagol. Thank you all for staying and watching.